Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. I found this global warming website this morning. Aftermath of climate change. Our climate is changing. The signs are everywhere. More extreme weather, more floods and landslides. More heat waves, droughts, and wildfires, putting the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Nearly all scientists agree that it's happening and is human-made. Those who disagree are either mistaken or are corrupted by other interests. Their evidence for these claims is a picture of some dark clouds, a lighthouse, and a fire burning around a tree. I think that nearly all scientists would agree that this is a photograph of clouds. The claim that the signs are everywhere reminded me of an article from this week in 1974. Time magazine, Science, Another Ice Age, June 24th, 1974. Telltale signs are everywhere, from the unexpected persistence and thickness of pack ice in the waters around Iceland to the southward migration of a warmth-loving creature like the armadillo from the Midwest. Since the 1940s, the mean global temperature has dropped about 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. In Africa, drought continues for the sixth consecutive year, adding terribly to the toll of famine victims. During 1972, record rains in parts of the U.S., Pakistan, and Japan caused some of the worst flooding in centuries. The National Center for Atmospheric Research published this graph showing sharp cooling after the 1940s and that 1970 was cooler than 1870. For the long run, there is mounting evidence of a worldwide cooling trend. The decline of prevailing temperatures since about 1945 appears to be the longest continued downward trend since temperature records began. Global cooling may be a cause of the devastating African drought now in its sixth year. Some scientists believe that expansion of the cold polar air caps pushed the monsoon rain belt southward, causing many of the life-giving rains to fall on already fertile lands or into the sea. Dry weather conditions also prevail in parts of India, China, Kenya, Bolivia, and other countries on both sides of the equator, raising the specter of even more serious drought and famine. New York Times, July 18, 1970. U.S. and Soviet press studies of a colder Arctic. The United States and the Soviet Union are mounting large-scale investigations to determine why the Arctic climate is becoming more frigid, why parts of the Arctic sea ice have recently become ominously thicker, and whether the extent of that ice cover contributes to the onset of ice ages. Scientists have proposed that by sprinkling coal dust on the ice pack, it would be possible to melt the ice, open the ocean to navigation, and ameliorate the northern climate.
British professor Hubert Lamb says that a new ice age is creeping over the northern hemisphere. Even then, it won't be as bad as the last ice age 60,000 years ago. Then New York, Cincinnati, St. Louis were under 5,000 feet of ice. Presumably, no traffic moved and school was let out for the day. And that's the way it is, Monday, September 11th, 1972.
Climate experts believe the next ice age is on its way. According to recent evidence, it could come sooner than anyone had expected. At weather stations in the far north, temperatures have been dropping for 30 years. Seacoasts, long free of summer ice, are now blocked year-round. According to some climatologists, within a lifetime, we might be living in the next ice age. If an ice age is coming, what can we do to stop it? Nuclear energy might be used to loosen polar ice caps. Sea ice could be melted by covering it with black soot to increase the absorption of sunlight. Dr. Stephen Schneider is a climatologist from the National Center for Atmospheric Research.
Can we do these things? Yes. But will they make things better? I'm not sure. We can't predict with any certainty what's happening to our own climatic future. How can we come along and intervene then in that ignorance? You could melt the ice caps. What would that do to the coastal cities? The cure could be worse than disease. Would that be better or worse than the risk of an ice age?
42 top American and European investigators were so worried that they sent a letter to President Nixon warning of a new ice age in about a century. Science News warned that glaciers were going to plow through Manhattan and that we were going to have to cover our cities with glass domes to keep them warm. The unusually beneficial warm climate of the past few decades may be degenerating, facing humanity with a new challenge to survival. According to this website, nearly all scientists agree that the signs of global warming are everywhere. And 50 years ago, the telltale signs of global cooling were everywhere. Droughts, famine, floods, tornadoes were caused by global cooling. Of course, now they're caused by global warming. These sort of contradictions may appear confusing, but this article from 1871 gave an excellent explanation. January 10, 1871, Imaginary Changes of Climate. 3 consecutive years of drought, while they've stimulated the inventive resources of practical agriculturalists, have had the natural effect of calling forth a plentiful crop of speculation. From weather prophets and projectors and half-instructed meteorologists and all the philosophic tribe of Laputa in general, to whom the periodical press now affords such fatal facilities. We've often noticed that in the tabular statements of those compilers of weather records who write to the Times, useful and welcome as their communications are, every season is sure to be extraordinary. Almost every month one of the driest or wettest or windiest, coldest or hottest ever known. Much observation which ought to correct a tendency to exaggerate seems in some minds to have rather a tendency to increase it. This article very eloquently describes the same sort of climate junk science which we are suffering through now. None of the information on this webpage is accurate. They're relying on poor statistics and general prejudice against anybody with a different opinion. This is the same war waged by the orthodoxy against heretics which mankind has always suffered through. Toto's been pulling back the curtain on this scam for the past 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie, Caesar, Upala, and Toki on the web at realclimatescience.com.